Hello, baby. Welcome back. Rock and roll. Wasn't that a meal? I am full. If you didn't listen to the New York Dolls multi-part episode, I would recommend it. That was a big, fat, juicy meal. That was like a backyard barbecue with like a good plate of ribs and maybe like two scoops of let's say potato salad. I like putting like hot sauce on my potato salad, like a vinegar-based hot sauce. You get a scoop of the barbecue beans. Let me get two of those like little dinner rolls so I can sop up the sauce and the grease. I'm going to wash that bad boy down with like a big glass of beer. I am full. So I have an idea. Why don't we take it easy? We're not going to do a five part. We're going to do a one and done. Let's bring in that plane for an easy landing. Why don't we serve like a little like cucumber salad and like a chilled glass of water, with like a little swedge of lime. How does that sound? What are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about Eric Clapton's time in the Yardbirds. This is early 60s. And I've been obsessed with rock and roll since a child, and I've seen many documentaries about rock and roll. And whenever they mention Eric Clapton, whether his influence or whatever, they always show this one clip of him in the Yardbirds, black and white, them playing the song "Wish You Would." Come on, baby, I wish you would. They always play that. A documentary about rock and roll must mention the Yardbirds. Just the lineup speaks for itself. You got Clapton beginning with it. When he's out, you got Jeff Beck. At one point of time, the band has Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page in the same lineup. Come on, seriously. Anyway, what was it like? What was it like, Clapton in the Yardbirds? It was a mess. Welcome to Jay's Rock and Roll Stories. I'm your host, Jay. All right, so we're going to start at 1963. And the meat of my story comes from this fantastic book by a guy named Christopher Sanford. And the book is called Clapton, Edge of Darkness. So 1963, sort of like following in the Rolling Stones' footsteps. At the time, the Rolling Stones were the top band doing this electric blues. The band is called the Metropolis Blues Quartet. It's fronted by the vocalist Keith Relf. He plays maracas, just like Mick Jagger. He's just trying to do exactly what they're doing. He wants to oust one of their members, this guy named Tony Topham, because this guy Topham has been going to art school. He doesn't really have time to do the band. So they want to replace Topham with someone else. And they have an idea of, let's do this rock and roll thing where we get chicks and stuff like that. Let's get a really good looking guy in the band. They've been seeing this guy around town, Eric Clapton. And they see him at this club, and they see him in this place in Kensington. They know he plays guitar. Not only is he a talented guitar player, it's like they want to instill a sort of like a James Dean looking figure that, it might help bring the chicks in. You know what I mean? So after having a rehearsal at this place called the Great Western Pub, Clapton accepts the offer. Chris Dreja, the rhythm guitar player, explains at school that he knew him at school, that Clapton would always change his appearance all the time. He comes in with different styles every month, a different haircut. He has this weird thing that he would love you like for a 1 week. The next week he wouldn't like you at all. Not for any real reason at all. Jim McCarty, their drummer, called him like an incredibly arrogant guy, very insecure. He would kind of play on other people's insecurities, but Clapton, as I said, was very, very dedicated to his craft. Like he took it more serious than the other guys. Like this was This was life and death for Clapton, blues. So, funny, he personally resented Chris Dreja and their bass player, Paul Samuel Smith. He just thinks that they're not committed at all. Clapton is life or death when it comes to the electric blues. He really does not like Paul Samuel Smith. He hates his accent. He calls his accent a home counties accent, which is, I guess, some sort of like a boring middle class accent. Clapton hates Clapton hates that he comes from a stable family and that he's just content and happy, and he sort of equates that normalcy to some like a traitor of the blues, like, you know. Paul Samuel Smith played guitar first, but Clapton approached him and just told him, "Don't play any more lead guitar solos. Don't play guitar, please." In fact, I read this interview with Paul Samuel Smith, he's pretty humble about this, but he did not resent Clapton, and he tells this funny story where he's in a band pre-Yardbirds, and Clapton comes up to him and he just says, like, "Hey, buddy, do me a favor, don't play guitar anymore." But he laughs about it. Paul Samuel Smith laughed about it in the interview. He kind of moved on from music. He started doing producing. That's where he really found his calling. But so anyway, Paul Samuel Smith is the bass player, and he would fuck up bass notes on the bass just to piss off Clapton and just see Clapton, like, you know, seething. So the band all agrees that there's this mixture of big ego, insecurity going on with Clapton. Everyone's kind of aboard in changing the band name to the Yardbirds, and that title comes from a Charlie Parker song called Yardbird Suite. So the Yardbirds first enter a recording studio November 1st, 1963 to cover Jimmy Reed's Baby What's Wrong. They're managed by this guy called Giorgio Gomelski, and who would go on to promote an American Blues Festival showcasing Muddy Waters, and the Yardbirds play on the same stage blues artists such as Sonny Boy Williamson. This is where Clapton really gets to show off his blues skills. It's even recorded and released in 1965 called Sonny Boy Williamson and the Yardbirds. The difference between Clapton and the other members of the band is rehearsals. Clapton spends hours upon hours listening to records, improving his guitar skills, just honing in on his craft. The other guys had like a life outside of the music, but Clapton didn't. That was it. So the band gets contracted by EMI in early 1964. They record their debut single, "I Wish You Would." And the idea was that Clapton would attract women. Happened almost immediately. He was always seen with like a girl on his arm, a girl on two arms, or just like a group of girls. Like he's always with someone. The band notices that he has these mood swings, and he does this weird triangular friendship thing where he'll befriend two of the guys in the band and really fucking hate this guy over here. Then the next week, he'll be friends with the guy he hated and the other guy together, and then hate the previous guy that he was friends with. And the band notices it. They're like, what the fuck is the deal with this guy? So the abuse towards Paul Samuel Smith, it never ends. Clapton denies any notion that Smith has any musical talent whatsoever. Like, he has no ability to play music. Here's a quote from Clapton. He says, "I took an instant dislike to him. He had a very Tweety image. He lives with mom and dad. He's so perfectly normal and good. He's such a good little boy. I was much more into developing myself by hanging out with people who were more likely to be rebels, to be from broken homes, and would generally be neurotic." Wow. Yeah. So that's that's what Clapton's attracted to, and he feels like this sort of normalcy of just living at home with family. That's a perfect family. It's just like a betrayal of the blues. But it's kind of contradictory because Clapton, he had a mother that rejected him, but he lived with his grandparents and they treated him like with respect and kindness and everything. And his life kind of mirrored Paul Samuel Smith. Like he pretty much had the same thing. All right, so the problem is Clapton is 100% electric blues, while honestly the rest of the band, they're more pop. And Gomelski, the guy who's like producing them, wants to create sort of like a pop phenomenon. In a 1964 Record Mirror magazine poll, the Yardbirds were voted third best group behind the Stones and Manfred Mann. So they're getting up there. They're getting popular. Clapton, obviously being the most naturally gifted of the group, was the least commercially minded. He had no interest in like getting hit singles or anything like that. Clapton would be embarrassed when Gomelski's determination to create a great pop group, like it embarrassed Clapton. Chris Dreja says there was a sense of, one for all and all for one in the band, but Eric was, he didn't really participate in that kind of a thing. And he made it very clear from the beginning that he didn't approve of the other guys. One of the other guys remembers Clapton even weeping inconsolably when hearing Gomelski had informed the group that they were a success. Like, yes, you guys are doing just as good as the Stones. Eric's like crying, like, God. So sometimes the members of the band would swap guitars. You use my guitar, I'll use your guitar. But when Paul Samuel Smith, he refused to let Clapton use any of his stuff. They got in a fight, and for a week they wouldn't communicate with each other. They would, have like a mediary, like someone in the middle to communicate between the two. So Clapton is starting to get noticed more, while the other guitarists are just sort of imitating Chuck Berry. Clapton really has his own sort of style. Like, he's really standing out. Like, who is this guy? He windmills his arm, when he plays. That was sort of like everyone thought Pete Townsend invented that. Pete Townsend saw Clapton do that in 1963 on stage. Clapton knows he's aware of his talent. He's aware of his image, and it just kind of just inflates his ego even more. He also likes to rub it in the noses of the band. Like he'll brag to the other guys, like, oh yeah, I got a couple letters today from fans. Like he will get like fan mail, and they wouldn't get anything. And you would, make them feel like crap for not getting anything. So management sees Eric now as like the main talent. And now they're like, well, we have this guy who's getting all the attention. Let's push where he's like the leader of the band. He's incredibly popular. Clapton is at this time. And I don't know if you ever heard of the nickname Slow Hand. I never understood where he got the name Slow Hand from. And his nickname came from this. He was so popular on stage that if he broke a string, right? They're playing a song, he breaks a string, and now he has to restring the string on the guitar. The audience would start clapping like this. As he's restringing the string. And Gomelski named Clapton Slow Hand, because the audience is doing a slow hand for him just to like do the string. So Dreja described Clapton as mean, morose, talented, but above all mysterious. Like, he's just like, who the fuck is this guy? Chris Welch of Melody Maker, who interviewed him, said that Clapton, everyone thought he was this mysterious, like this aloof, but really he was just shy. Chris Welch said that Clapton spoke in a home county's accent, just like how Paul Smith speaks that Eric Clapton gave him shit for. And he kind of accused him of being like a boring dude. Same way that Clapton did against Paul Smith. Clapton is really getting his name known, and his technique is getting known. The use of feedback is kind of getting attention. He's doing that. Like the other guitar players and bands are just pretty middle of the road, and he's doing all kinds of different things. This is 1963. This is, So the fans at the time of Clapton were Pete Townsend, Keith Richards. These guys have seen Clapton live and like, wow, this is freaking awesome. So who else liked Clapton? Well, there's a guitar player that was playing with the Isley Brothers at the time and has heard Clapton, and he made a little comment saying, hey, that English cat, man, he's talented. That was Jimi Hendrix. Even Jimi Hendrix is saying, oh, this guy's fucking good. So the band all lived together at this little place. Clapton never helps pay the bills. He gets in fights with them because he insists they need to constantly rehearse. But I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing, but he's dedicated. Like we need to rehearse, and they just kind of fuck off. So I said before that Clapton had a mother who rejected him, and there was this plan to meet her and to meet his stepdad. So like some sort of reconciliation meeting. So he tells Gromelsky, the manager, the producer of the band, that he needs a month off for some family reasons. So Eric travels to Germany with his grandparents and to visit his mom and stepdad. The stepdad lives on the barracks. There's a military base there, the English military base there. So the stepdad, his name is Frank McDonald, and he wouldn't allow Eric into the mess hall on the barracks, on the base, without getting a crew cut. So they chop his hair off, and this is 1963 when it's cool to have bangs in your face, like Beatles look, but no, they chop it all off. So when he comes back with the band, he looks like a new recruit. He has like shaved tiny little haircut. So in the beginning, the haircut, the trim of the hair was kind of humiliating, but he actually kept it short. He kind of grew into it. And I remember seeing pictures of the band 62, 63, where all the guys have like Beatles haircuts, and he has like a really short haircut, but it doesn't look bad. It kind of looks like the original mod cut, like the short haircut. So by the first week of 1965, they return to the tour circuit with a group of artists. The Yardbirds are on tour with Gene Vincent, the Kinks, and the Small Faces, doing like a group tour. So during this time, the band meets a 22-year-old guitarist named Jeff Beck, and all but Clapton thinking about moving forward with Jeff Beck. So McCarthy says, we all knew a change was coming. The situation with Eric was intolerable. So it's 1965. Yardbirds released the song. This is what they're most known for, is For Your Love, which Clapton doesn't even play on it. It has like harpsichord on it. It's a very, very poppy song. Clapton hates this song. He's blues. It has nothing to do with the blues. It's very poppy, has harpsichord. The song reaches number 3 in the charts. That's man, they're making it. The band is ecstatic, and Gomelsky is couldn't be happier. Clapton was quoted saying, "We sold our souls for what?" So he thinks we sold out. This is bullshit. So at this time, Gomelsky did Paul Smith. They have been getting on really well. They're kind of like a unit, and the feedback from Paul Smith is not going unheard either. Gomelsky is listening to him, and he doesn't like Clapton. Clapton doesn't like him. So one day there's like a little memo that's circulated to the band that reads, If you're late for rehearsals, you will be fined. Punctuality in the studio is a must. If you have any queries about this, report to Paul Samuel Smith or come to my office immediately. So, I mean, that would be Giorgio Gomelski's office. So this dorky little note really like annoys the shit out of Clapton. He said, I went to Giorgio's office and I told him, I don't like it and I'm going to leave. And Gomelski, he was not upset at all. He says, well, good. Okay. Well, we're not really surprised. So Melody Maker gets the wind of it and prints the headline, Clapton quits the Yardbirds, to commercial. So yes, the Yardbirds pick up Jeff Beck and they have him for about 18 months. They have a couple of hit singles with Beck without Clapton, like the songs Shapes of Things and Over, Under, Sideways, Down. Those are good songs. The Yardbirds are in a movie called Blow Up. You ever heard that? You can look that up on YouTube. Blow Up Yardbirds. It's kind of cool. It's like in 1966 or so. Jimmy Page is in it as well. So Eric goes to live with a organ player friend named Ben Palmer. So Eric's taking some time off and he's like obsessively listening to records. He really practices, hones in on his craft, and he shows off his skills when he makes this amazing electric blues album with John Mayall in 1966. And it's loud, it's crazy, it's fast, it's just growth, really. It's fantastic work that he did. But I think everyone wins here, you know? They didn't like Clapton, they got Beck. Clapton hated them, he moved on. That's a little side note. We're going to wrap this up quick. It's just, see, I just told you, we're doing a little cucumber salad and a glass of water. That's all we're doing. So we're going to fast forward to 1983. Clapton is playing a benefit concert at the Albert Hall in London. Jim McCarty and Paul Samuel Smith are there. The old buddies from the Yardbirds, right? Here's a quote from McCarty. He says, Eric approached us backstage and immediately started hassling Paul Samuel Smith, moaning about the letter, about the memo, being late for rehearsals memo after 18 years. Really? Incredible. So some things never change, right? So even in 1983, fuck that guy. Anyway, so that was just a little taste of that wasn't even a roller coaster, right? That was just like a little craft around the tree, around the shed, coming back and coming right back in, right? So that's it. That's all I got. We're taking it easy. We're still digesting. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening and come back for more. Bye.